What does one possibly say to encompass with any kind of adequacy the mystery and wonder, the ecstasy and agony, the ordinariness and specialness, the evolutions and transformations of a whole almost century-long life? It is as if a stage is set up and Veronica is the main character, and her life plays out before us, scene after scene. Some of us witnessed the opening acts. Some entered during the third act. Others joined the play after the intermission. And some arrived only for the final acts. We all feel we know and love Veronica. Susan LaVon Emmick was born and grew up on a large, prosperous family farm in Hancock County, Kentucky, with one older, dearly loved sister, Betty, who's with us today, and two younger brothers, John and Stephen. Sue never forgot the very local cultural world that surrounded her childhood. The Burkes and the Emmicks, her father's wild turkeys, pigs, quail, pecan trees, big breakfasts, fried chicken, bacon, how she loved bacon. She attended a one-room schoolhouse, Beech Grove, for grades 1 through 3. Lewisport Consolidated School for grades 5 through 8. And the Ursuline Sisters Mount St. Joseph Academy in Maple Mount, Kentucky, as a boarder for high school. She could not wait to return home to Kentucky to visit when the changes ushered in by Vatican II opened the way. Family sorrows, family sickness and deaths were the one thing that made her openly tremble with tears. The deaths of her younger brothers broke her tender heart, and her dearly beloved father's inability to accept her vocation to Carmel was a deep wound she carried for many, many years. Sue entered the Baltimore Carmel November 14th, 1947. When asked why and how she chose Baltimore Carmel, she said she consulted a list of monasteries and Baltimore was the first one on the list. So she wrote there and was accepted sight unseen. There was no live-in in those days to sample the life, no hedging your bets, no comparing of communities. Just try to imagine the courage, conviction, and determination it took for her at 18 in 1947 to board a train alone for Baltimore to enter the Carmelite Monastery on Caroline and Biddle Streets. The large, high-walled, stark monastery built in 1873 stood right on the street corner on less than an acre of land. Not unlike the monasteries of St. Teresa in Spain, but a very far cry from the green farm fields of Kentucky and the beauty of the Ohio River they overlooked. She made her solemn profession as Sister Veronica of the Holy Face on August 12th, 1952. Those were the pre-Vatican II days that rooted us deeply in the rich tradition of Carmel. But it was also a time of outdated customs that took their toll on Veronica's health and her spirit. When the community moved to the spacious property on Delaney Valley Road in Towson in 1961, Veronica was reborn. She found a new freedom in caring for the beautiful monastery grounds. Long before we were stressing how trees, as they grow, help stop climate change by removing carbon dioxide from the air, storing carbon in trees and soil, and releasing oxygen into the atmosphere, Veronica was nurturing trees. Over the years, she planted the meadow with specimen trees that remain now as monuments to her love of nature and the extravagant variety of its beauty. How fitting, how very fitting that she should die in autumn when the leaves are falling from those very trees. The words of the poet May Sarton sound like Veronica. Quote, "All the way I have been in a state of great praise for trees, wondering how I could ever live without them, thinking of their comfort, how they nourish and sustain us with their beauty and coolness, their steadfastness, the fact that they outlive those who plant them. And I understood why old people plant trees. I think of the trees and how they simply let go, let fall the riches of a season, how without grief, it seems, they can let go and go deep into their roots for renewal and for sleep." That's the end of the quote. Veronica was happiest when driving the John Deere tractor around the property, cutting the grass with both carefree abandon and careful precision. No one touched her tractor without careful training. Once, when she let one of the youthful Jesuits drive it, she was horrified as he recklessly tore around the grounds like a teenager. Her generosity never extended so far again, even for the Jesuits. When she celebrated her Golden Jubilee, she asked for a six-month sabbatical during which she would be completely free to tend the grounds, nothing else. She was a meticulous groundskeeper, skilled in the art of conservation, and eager to pass on her ecological wisdom to the younger sisters who care for the property today. Even though her passion was the fostering of outdoor beauty, she contributed to the everyday life of the community in many ways. She was an avid, sensate cleaner and suffered immensely when other sisters could not keep up to her standards. One term as prioress was enough to convince her that kind of leadership was not for her. She served a stint as bookkeeper, and in her elder years related with compassion and tenderness to the people who came to the monastery door or called on the phone seeking the encouragement of the nun's prayer or joined us in the chapel for Sunday liturgy. So many people have contacted us since her death, and they remember her gracious, sweet, wistful smile and gentle welcome, her genuine interest in their lives. She was such a sweetheart, one said, a great nun, another. Veronica was a hermit by nature. I think she attended 2 meetings outside the monastery in her entire life. The deepest supports of her spirituality and her contemplative life were her books and her music. She read voraciously and delighted in and was comforted by the beauty of opera and classical music. The great gifts to her elder years were her iPad and her Kindle. There was something secular about Veronica, and her reading extended far beyond theological and spiritual writings. Some people keep a record of their life in journals. She kept a list of every book she ever read. Privileged was the person invited into her world of books. A threefold passion suffused Veronica's contemplative life: her reading, her opera, her trees. And through these, in these, she experienced God. This atmosphere of beauty and tranquility is what she poured into the energy fields that surround us. A piece called The Forest, the Trees, the Way We Stand by Susan Griffin somehow expresses and sums up in a language Veronica would love her life among us, her community for 73 years. Quote, "The way we stand, you can see we have grown up this way together, in the same soil, with the same rains, leaning in the same way toward the sun. See how we lean together in the same direction, how the dead limbs of one of us rest in the branches of another, how those branches have grown around the limbs, how the two are inseparable. And if you look, you can see the different ways we have taken this place into us. Magnolia, smoke tree, tulip poplar, fern leaf beech, curly willow, American cherry, Japanese cherry, larch redbud, Kusa dogwood, American dogwood, Japanese maple, oak, honey locust, little leaf linden. Wherever we grow, there are many of us. Serbian spruce, blue spruce, short needle spruce, American cedar, blue atlas cedar, Virginia pine, dwarf cypress, Leyland cypress, American holly, native hemlock. We are various and amazing in our variety, and our differences multiply so that edge after edge of the endlessness of possibility is exposed. You know, we have grown this way for years, and to no purpose you can understand. Yet what you fail to know, we know. And the knowing is in us, how we have grown this way, why these years were not one of them heedless, why we are shaped the way we are, not all straight to your purpose, but to ours. And we are each purpose, how each cell, how light and soil are in us, how we are in the air, how we are infinitesimal and great, and how we are infinitely without any purpose you can see. In the way we stand, each alone, yet none of us separable. None of us beautiful when separate, but all exquisite as we stand. Each moment heated in this cycle. No detail unlovely. Now let us stand or raise your hearts and praise and thank God for Veronica's life among us, realizing that she rejoices now in the full resurrected life of Jesus Christ.